I wanted to definitely make sure that I covered this story because I'm really tired of people getting Assata Shakur's case wrong, including people like Kash Patel. So if you are not aware, Assata Shakur, she died in Cuba a couple of days ago. We'll get into why she was in Cuba in the first place. She was a member of the Black Liberation Party, Black Liberation Army. She was also Tupac Shakur's godmother. How many people knew that? She supported the Black Liberation Movement. And Assata Shakur was falsely convicted of a crime, even though evidence proved that she couldn't have done the crime. They locked her away anyway. They came after her. By they, I mean the FBI, the feds, deep state. They came after her the same way that people came after Fred Hampton, MLK, Malcolm X, anyone at that point in time, Black Panther Party members that were trying to have liberation for the Black community. So when you see a post from Kash Patel that says Joanne Chismard, that's her legal name, didn't fight for justice. She murdered New Jersey State Trooper Werner Forrester in cold blood, then fled to Cuba to escape accountability. The FBI never stopped calling her what she was, a terrorist. Mourning her is spitting on the badge and the blood of every cop who gave their life in service. And here is the most wanted poster that they had for her. And she's been in Cuba for a long time. And they did call her a terrorist. Now, this is the same agency, the FBI, the same ones who also have called other Black freedom fighters and activists terrorists as well. But what really is, I guess, frustrating me about this one is that there was evidence that proved that Assata Shakur was innocent. Kash Patel isn't going to tell you that. He's there to, again, push propaganda. And out of all the stories that I've seen, this is one that till this day, people still repeat this lie. Still repeat this lie. Even though there was a medical examiner that proved there was no way that she could have done this crime, they still push it. I did respond to Kash Patel and I said Assata Shakur was innocent. The FBI killed Fred Hampton, MLK, and Malcolm X. You're full of it. Full of it. You have to remember, people like Kash Patel, they serve the empire. They're there to protect the status quo. What's sad about all this is that Assata Shakur never got the chance to come back to the U.S. to clear her name because she was on that wanted list. And so she died in Cuba.
And a fugitive from New Jersey who fled to Cuba after a murder conviction has died. Assata Shakur, whose legal name is Joanne Chismard, took refuge in Cuba after breaking out of prison in 1979. She was serving a life sentence for the murder of a New Jersey state trooper 52 years ago. She was on the FBI's most wanted list. NBC News just confirmed she died in Havana from health complications yesterday.
Now, what you have to remember, what was happening during that time. During that time, a lot of people who were members of the Black Panther Party, people who were followers and supporters of Malcolm X, even Dr. King, there were people that were part of the civil rights movement that ended up selling out so that they wouldn't be jailed or possibly killed or have drugs or something planted on them. There's a lot of stories. The same way they went after them, the same way they went after Assata Shakur. People have to understand that during that time, the way that we're able to walk out into the street and protest for a free Palestine, you have to understand during that time, when people were protesting, when there was the Black Power movement, when there was the Black Liberation movement, when people were protesting for liberation, it is because of that uprising during that time that I believe the government decided the best way to shut down resistance from the people, because we had resistance in this country too. We mentioned it for Gaza. We have resistance here too. The best way to do it is to kill off their activist leaders and then convince them that the answer to solve their problems is neoliberalism. If you look at even the Ronald Reagan era, I think this is important for people to also understand. You want to know why? Like, there were harsher gun restrictions that were implemented. Ronald Reagan took issue when the Black Panthers showed up at the State House in California. He had a problem that many Black people were armed. So what does he do? He cut down on the gun rights. So you see, people ain't really free. People ain't really free, especially in this country. And it seems as though, to me, when I look back and I read history, every time you get a little bit of freedom, like every time they gave Black people just a taste of freedom, here comes a law to make it more difficult for you to have access to what you were just doing. We're going to do a show one day about neoliberalism. I did one before many years ago. We got to do it again, because I'm going to explain to people how neoliberalism really ruined communities, how it hurt the economy, how it messed up the colleges. So Assata Shakur, her name has been smeared and just driven through the mud over the years. And now I want to show you this video. And oh God, this really goes back. This was 12 years ago on Democracy Now!, when they were talking about Assata Shakur. As FBI seeks to capture Assata Shakur, the NAACP head calls for U.S. truth and reconciliation. Listen to this, 12 years ago.
Very quickly, Ben, has the NAACP taken a position on Assata Shakur, who's in Cuba, has been the president, the FBI has just put her on the most wanted terrorist list, the first woman to be placed on it, and increased the bounty for her to $2 million.
This is a case, frankly, all of the political prisoner cases from the 60s are concerned. And closing the unsolved lynchings are something that we're still working on. And it makes you wonder if the country isn't coming to a place where we need some sort of Truth and Reconciliation Commission to help us deal with what are very painful moments. I mean, if you think about the police officers here in the New York, New Jersey area, their families still feel very aggrieved about what happened with the Brinks case, about what happened on the turnpike in this shooting. When you go down to Georgia, as I was a couple of weeks ago, and you have unsolved lynchings from 60 years ago, and you see kind of pain on, in the Black community, and very suspicion of sheriffs, people feel like have been for years. And so we have not taken a position on the Shakur case, but I do think that we have to, if we're going to heal as a nation, look at the violence, the sort of politically motivated violence on both sides, and figure out how we heal both at once. I used to be the managing editor of a paper called the Jackson Advocate in Jackson, Mississippi. Our paper was burned down 3 times. My publisher used to have lunch with the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan every month. And, he comes in, and I said, comes in one day, I'm sitting in his office waiting for him. I'm like, why? And he said, at the end of the day, he said 2 things. One, there ain't nobody in this town who wants to talk to either one of us about the Civil War again. And we both like talking about it, right? He said, but 2, it's time that we start listening to each other and figuring out how we heal this, because it's just not ending. The war, it just isn't ending. The Civil War isn't ending. And these are 2 old men, both within a decade of dying, who sat down across great difference, across great pain. I mean, my publisher had covered the Emmett Till case. He had had many friends killed by the Klan, and said, it's just time for us to bury the hatchet and figure out how we move forward. And so my hope is that we as a country can start a conversation about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because these old wounds, the wounds around Shakur in the kind of progressive community, and so many other cases, so many Shakurs, right? The wounds, down south with the unsolved lynchings. It's just time for us to find a new way. I don't see it really ending. And I don't.
And we got to pause because I wanted to show you this to prove a point. I wanted you to see just how weak the NAACP has become. First, one of the earlier things that came out of his mouth, we have not taken a position on the Assata Shakur case. That right there tell you everything you need to know. Now, this was 12 years ago. Now, he was saying like we need to come together and heal the wounds. Assata Shakur is dead now. Why didn't the NAACP take a position on that case when there was evidence that proved that she couldn't have committed that crime? You see, this is part of the problem when we talk about what it means to be really free. Some of these organizations that claim to help and uplift the Black community, they became corporate like over time, and they just basically just became bags for the Democratic Party. That's what the NAACP basically is. Because with all the money and name recognition that the NAACP really has, how come they don't do more? Anybody ever ask that question? Why? What do you mean you don't take a position? Some of these organizations got bought off a long time ago. The NAACP is one of them. The Urban League isn't much better. They just want to make money and not actually lead towards any real liberation. That was 12 years ago. So it's times like this, like people need to see this. Let's bring this up here because I want to show you what the doctor said, the medical professional. Assata Shakur is best known for her work in civil rights and activism. She did activism with the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army between 1971 and 1979 before being imprisoned on what many consider a miscarriage of justice. There's another picture here of Assata Shakur. Right? Let me show you the accusation. She was accused 6 times for crimes ranging from kidnapping, armed robbery, attempted murder, and murder. On each of these 6 occasions, she was found not guilty through dismissals, mistrials, acquittals, and a hung jury. It later emerged in 1973 that the FBI had 2 separate task forces attempting to tie Shakur to any and every violent activity on the East Coast of the U.S. as a way to discredit the Black Liberation Army. And this is what they do. We can't get you on this thing, so we'll try to get you on something else. I'm pretty sure they had infiltration in the BLA, just like the Black Panthers did too. The FBI, they had agents that infiltrated Black organizations to take them down. And you know what's really messed up about it? They actually got Black people to do it. The gentleman that infiltrated the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers, the one who was the snitch that got Fred Hampton killed, that guy came forward years later on TV. I forget the program that featured it. It might have been, I don't know if it was PBS or whatever, but it was an interview. He came forward on TV and admitted that he was working for the FBI and he was an infiltrator in the Black Panther Party. And that, yeah, the death of Fred Hampton basically rested on him because he was the one that let them know where he was going to be. And they came and took him out. That guy died after that interview. This is often how they try to get these groups down. So they couldn't get her on anything, right? So let's try to get her on something. And he goes on to say here, she was only found guilty on one occasion, the Turnpike shootout, in which Shakur was convicted on first-degree murder, second-degree murder, atrocious assault and battery against a police officer, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault with intent to kill, illegal possession of a weapon, and armed robbery. In other words, they were trying to throw her away and lock her up, throw away the key. However, the basis of Shakur's defense is that she had already surrendered before the shooting ensued. See, this is the key part. Kash Patel won't tell you this in his whack ass tweet. This makes the charges against her invalid. The basis of this defense relied on an expert medical evidence, which proved that Shakur did not handle a gun, and due to her injuries, she was unable to fire a weapon, even if she had been handling it. A key element of Shakur's defense was medical testimony meant to demonstrate that she was shot with her hands up and that she would have been subsequently unable to fire a weapon. A neurologist testified that the median nerve in Shakur's right arm was severed by the second bullet, making her unable to pull the trigger. And yet, they found her guilty anyway. So see, Kash Patel tells the story. He don't tell you the whole story. That's why Assata Shakur is in Cuba. That's why she fled to Cuba. Because she was not going to, I'm not going to let you throw me in a cell, lock me away for the rest of my life for something I did not do. And as you can see, there were 6 other incidents that they tried to get her for, and she was found not guilty for all those other incidents. It was only a matter of time. They were going to throw her away. That's the injustice with the justice system. There is evidence that proves you couldn't have done it, but they throw you away anyway. So when Kash Patel comes forward and he tells you that she didn't fight for justice, she murdered a New Jersey state trooper, that is a lie. That is Kash Patel pushing propaganda. And unfortunately, so many people hit the like button on that without doing their own research. They just believe whatever is just put in front of them. Oh, yeah, that's right. Didn't look it up at all. Now, I want to show you a couple of words from Assata Shakur when she was still alive in Cuba.
I believe in that oppressed people, wherever they are, have the right to self-determination. I believe that socialism is an integral part of building social justice on this planet. I believe that the priorities of this planet have to be completely changed. And instead of profits, instead of policies that destroy the earth, that destroy the water, that destroy human beings, I believe a policy that protects people, that makes people live in a community, a world community. That's what I believe. That's my basic political commitment at this moment.
Does that sound like someone who was a murderer to you? She wanted liberation. She wanted a freedom. She wanted a better world. Just like some of the other leaders, Malcolm X wanted a better world. MLK wanted a better world. Fred Hampton wanted a better world. They went harder after Assata Shakur than they have after Klan members who have killed, hanged, burned crosses in people's yards, terrorized Black communities for years. But you'll never hear them call the KKK terrorists. I wonder why. So we have to be very careful about the propaganda that is pushed in front of us. And a lot of us are busy. People are working, 9 to 5 or sometimes third shift. Some people are working multiple jobs, and they know that a lot of us don't have time to look up this information on our own. And that's where they get us. My comrade, JB Font, make sure you check out his channel. JB Font read Assata Shakur's autobiography. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you put it on your reading list. It's not all, rainbows. There's some deep stuff in there. And there are even things that Assata Shakur even called out, within the Black liberation movement. That's one thing I like about that book. So put that on your reading list, and let's not allow ourselves to be fooled by propaganda. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.